Have you ever found yourself staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering where it all went wrong? That crushing weight on your chest, the endless loop of what-ifs playing in your mind. I bet you have. We all have. Picture this. 6 years ago, I was sitting in my car, parked outside what used to be my office building, clutching a cardboard box filled with 5 years of memories, achievements, and broken dreams. The rain hammered against the windshield, matching the rhythm of my racing heart. I had just been fired, not laid off, not let go, fired. The words of my former boss still rang in my ears. "You've become complacent. You're not the same person we hired." He was right. I had become comfortable, average, predictable. I had stopped pushing boundaries, stopped taking risks, stopped growing. And in today's world, staying still is the same as moving backward. Right now, you might be thinking, that's tough. But what does this have to do with me? Everything. Because at this very moment, you're either growing or dying. There's no middle ground, no comfortable plateau where you can rest and coast through life. Let's cut through the noise and face the cold, hard truth. Nobody cares about your dreams. Nobody cares about your potential. Nobody cares about what you could become. The world is too busy dealing with its own problems to worry about yours. And you know what? That's the most liberating truth you'll ever hear. Think about it. How many times have you stopped yourself from taking action because you were worried about what others might think? How many dreams have you buried because someone told you they weren't realistic? How many times have you chosen comfort over growth, security over possibility? Your parents care about your safety. Your friends care about your friendship. Your partner cares about your relationship. But nobody, absolutely nobody, cares about your success as much as you should. And that's not a tragedy. It's your greatest advantage. When I sat in that car that rainy day, something snapped. The comfort bubble I had built around myself burst, and for the first time in years, I could see clearly. I realized that all those hours I spent seeking approval, all those moments I wasted trying to please others, all those opportunities I missed because I was afraid of judgment, they were all chains I had willingly put on myself. You're probably wondering why motivation isn't enough. Let me tell you why motivation is like a hot shower. It feels great, but it doesn't last. You can watch all the inspirational videos, read all the self-help books, and attend all the motivational seminars in the world, but at the end of the day, what matters is what you do when the motivation fades. What matters is discipline. Look around you. The world is filled with motivated people who never achieve anything significant. They're motivated on Monday, excited about their new diet on Tuesday, and by Wednesday, they're back to their old habits. Why? Because they're relying on feelings instead of systems, on temporary excitement instead of permanent change. But here's where it gets interesting. Your brain is actively working against you. That voice in your head telling you to stay safe, to avoid risks, to maintain the status quo, that's not wisdom, that's fear. It's a primitive survival mechanism that hasn't caught up with modern reality. In our ancestors' time, taking risks could mean death. Today, not taking risks is a slow death of its own. You might be thinking, but I have real obstacles. I have responsibilities, bills to pay, people depending on me. Of course you do. Everyone does. But let's be brutally honest. Are these real obstacles, or are they excuses wrapped in legitimate packaging? When I lost my job, I had a mortgage, a car payment, and a family to support. These were real obstacles, but the biggest obstacle wasn't any of these. It was my own mindset. I had become an expert at finding reasons why I couldn't succeed, why I couldn't start my own business, why I couldn't pursue my real passions. The comfort trap is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, disguised as reasonable choices and practical decisions. I'll start tomorrow. Now isn't the right time. I need to wait until conditions are perfect. These seemingly innocent thoughts are the assassins of your dreams. Society has a vested interest in keeping you average. Average people are predictable. They're easy to manage. They're good consumers. They follow the prescribed path. Go to school, get a job, buy things they don't need, with money they don't have to impress people they don't like, retire, die. The system is designed to keep you comfortable enough not to rebel, but uncomfortable enough to keep consuming. But you're not reading this because you want to be average. You're not here because you're satisfied with mediocrity. There's something inside you, something that keeps you up at night, something that makes you restless, something that whispers there's more to life than this. That voice, it's right. There is more, much more. But to access it, you need to be willing to get uncomfortable. You need to be willing to fail. You need to be willing to look foolish. Most importantly, you need to be willing to stop caring about what others think of your journey. Remember, every single person you admire, every success story that inspires you, every achievement that seems impossible, they all started with one person deciding that their dreams were more important than their fears. They all started with someone deciding that the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of change. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is whether you're willing to find out, whether you're willing to push past the initial discomfort, push past the judgments, push past the self-doubt, and keep pushing until you become who you're meant to be. Your potential is like a muscle. It grows through resistance, through challenge, through pain. Every time you choose the harder path, every time you face your fears, every time you push past your comfort zone, you're building that muscle. You're becoming stronger, more resilient, more capable. But here's the catch. This transformation won't happen by itself. It won't happen through wishful thinking or positive visualization alone. It requires action, consistent, deliberate, focused action. It requires you to get up when you'd rather stay in bed, to work when others are relaxing, to learn when others are mindlessly consuming. The world doesn't owe you anything. Success isn't going to fall into your lap. Opportunities aren't going to chase you down. You need to create them. You need to chase them. You need to be willing to work harder than you've ever worked before. Think about the last time you truly pushed yourself to your limit. Not just until it got uncomfortable, but until you found out what you were really capable of. Chances are, it's been a while. We've become too comfortable with comfort, too familiar with familiar, too content with contentment. But that ends today. Right now. This moment. Because while nobody cares about your success, nobody can stop you from achieving it either. The only person standing between you and your dreams is the one staring back at you in the mirror. It's time to wake up. Time to shake off the comfortable numbness that's been holding you back. Time to stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to come and save you. Nobody's coming. And that's exactly why you're going to succeed. Because when you truly understand that nobody cares, you're free. Free from the need for approval. Free from the fear of judgment. Free from the chains of others' expectations. When you embrace this truth, when you internalize it, something magical happens. You start caring more about your own standards than anyone else's. The path ahead won't be easy. There will be doubts. There will be setbacks. There will be people who try to drag you back to their level of mediocrity. But remember this, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. You're standing at a crossroads right now. One path leads to comfort, safety, to the known. It's the path most taken, and it leads to a life of quiet desperation.
The other path, it's uncertain, challenging, often scary, but it's the only path that leads to growth, to achievement, to becoming the person you're meant to be. The choice is yours. But before you decide, ask yourself this. 10 years from now, will you wish you had started today? Will you look back at this moment and see it as the turning point? The moment when everything changed? Or will it be just another moment when you chose comfort over growth, safety over possibility, fear over possibility, fear over courageous? Your transformation begins the moment you decide that who you're becoming is more important than who you've been. It begins when you stop making excuses and start making changes. It begins when you realize that nobody cares, and that's your greatest power. The wake-up call isn't just about recognizing where you are. It's about deciding where you are. It's about deciding where you're going. It's about understanding that your past doesn't define your future, but your present actions do. Every decision you make from this moment forward is either moving you closer to your goals or further away from them. As we venture deeper into understanding how to rewire your mental operating system, remember this: the greatest battles you'll face won't be in the outside world, they won't be in the ozone. They'll be in your own mind. But that's exactly where we're heading next, into the battlefield of beliefs, habits, and mindsets that have been holding you back. Are you ready to dig deeper? Are you ready to face the uncomfortable truths about yourself? Are you ready to build the mental toughness required for extraordinary achievement? Because that's exactly what we're about to explore. The mind is a battlefield, and right now, you're losing the war. Every excuse, every self-doubt, every moment of hesitation. These are all symptoms of an operating system. These are all symptoms of made programmed for mediocrity. But here's the thing about programming. It can be rewritten. Think about your current thought patterns. When faced with a challenge, what's your immediate response? I can't do this. This is too hard. Why does this too hard? Why does this always happen to me? These aren't just random thoughts. Why does this always happen to me? These aren't just random thoughts. They're deeply ingrained in our path. Let me tell you about Marcus, the client of me after failing to write a third time. I'm just not cut out for this, he said. Maybe some people are born entrepreneurs, and I'm not for that. Maybe some people are mentality. He had constructed an elaborate narrative where external factors were responsible for leaders. Where success for what? These are reinforced fields of the We've all caught ourselves with playing the victim, waiting for permission, seeking validation from others. It's comfortable, it's safe in the victim. It's in the The first step in rewiring your mental operating system is acknowledging the fundamental truth. Nobody's relentless. Not success, not happiness, not a readable, not a reader. This isn't harsh. It's really intuitive. Because once you truly intuitive, because once you truly the brain is constantly intuitive. Your brain is constantly looking for patterns, for patterns. And right now, it's probably running on outdated software. Think about it. How many of your current beliefs were installed by others? Your parents, your teachers, your parents, your parents, your teachers, your friends, society at large. How many of these beliefs have you actually for yourselves?
The victim mentality is like a virus in your mental operating system. It infects everything: your decisions, your actions, your relationships. It turns obstacles into excuses, challenges into reasons to quit. But here's what you need to understand. Being a victim is a choice. It's a perspective you've adopted, not a reality you're stuck with. Marcus's breakthrough came when he finally understood this. He stopped saying, "I can't," and started asking, "How can I?" He stopped blaming market conditions and started examining his strategies. He stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started creating moments of opportunity. But let's be clear, this isn't about positive thinking or empty affirmations. This is about radical self-accountability. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, "I am responsible for everything in my life, everything. Your successes, your failures, your current situation, all of it." Think this is too extreme? Consider the alternative. If you're not responsible for your life, who is? The government, your boss, your parents, the economy. The moment you place responsibility for your life in someone else's hands, you give away your power to change it. Mental toughness isn't born, it's built. Just like a muscle, it grows through resistance, through challenge, through discomfort. Every time you face a fear, every time you push through resistance, every time you choose the harder path, you're building mental toughness. Start small. Set your alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow. When it goes off, don't negotiate with yourself. Don't hit snooze. Don't make excuses. Just get up. This isn't about the extra hour. It's about keeping a promise to yourself. It's about building trust with the most important person in your life, you. Watch what happens when you start keeping these small promises to yourself. Your self-image begins to shift. Your confidence grows. Your excuses start to sound hollow, even to yourself. This is the beginning of rewiring your mental operating system. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to change everything at once. They attempt a complete system override, and when it fails, they use it as evidence that change is impossible. Your brain doesn't work that way. It needs time to build new neural pathways, to establish new patterns, to create new defaults. Remember, discomfort is the currency of growth. Every time you feel uncomfortable, every time you feel that resistance, that's your brain trying to protect you from change. It's doing its job, keeping you safe, keeping you in familiar territory. But you don't want safe, you don't want familiar, you want growth, you want evolution, you want transformation. The most powerful way to rewire your mental operating system is through daily challenges, not yearly goals, not monthly targets, daily challenges. Why? Because every day presents a new opportunity to strengthen your mental muscles, to reinforce new patterns, to prove to yourself that you're capable of more. Start asking yourself better questions. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of, "Why can't I do this?" ask, "How can I make this happen?" The questions you ask yourself determine the answers you get, and the answers you get determine the actions you take. Your brain is like a search engine. It will find evidence for whatever you believe to be true. If you believe success is impossible, your brain will find reasons why. If you believe opportunities are everywhere, your brain will spot them. This isn't magical thinking. It's how your neural networks actually function. Consider this: every thought you think, every belief you hold, every excuse you make is either moving you closer to your goals or further away from them. There is no neutral ground. Your mental operating system is either working for you or against you. The most successful people I've worked with all share one common trait. They've learned to embrace discomfort. They don't just tolerate it. They actively seek it out. They understand that comfort is the enemy of growth, that security is the prison of potential. Think about the last time you felt truly alive. I bet it wasn't when you were sitting comfortably on your couch, scrolling through social media. It was probably when you were pushing yourself, challenging yourself, proving to yourself that you were capable of more. This is where self-accountability becomes crucial. You need to become your own hardest critic and your biggest supporter. When you make a mistake, own it. When you fail, learn from it. When you succeed, acknowledge it, but don't rest on it. Keep pushing, keep growing, keep evolving. Your new mental operating system needs to be built on unshakable principles. First, you are responsible for everything in your life. Second, discomfort is the path to growth. Third, your potential is limited only by your beliefs. Fourth, action always beats intention. But here's the part that most people miss. This rewiring process isn't just about adding new beliefs. It's about identifying and eliminating the limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. It's about debugging your mental software, removing the viruses of doubt, fear, and complacency. Think of yourself as a computer programmer. Every morning you wake up with the opportunity to write new code for your life. Every decision you make, every action you take, every thought you think is either reinforcing old patterns or creating new ones. The beauty of this process is that it's entirely within your control. You don't need anyone's permission to rewrite your mental code. You don't need special qualifications to upgrade your operating system. You just need the willingness to face uncomfortable truths and the courage to make uncomfortable changes. As you continue this rewiring process, you'll notice something interesting. The voice in your head that used to say, "I can't," starts saying, "How can I?" The part of you that used to look for excuses starts looking for solutions. The person who used to shrink from challenges starts seeking them out. This is what real transformation looks like. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about becoming more of who you really are. It's about stripping away the limitations, the false beliefs, the self-imposed restrictions that have been holding you back. Remember Marcus, 6 months after his mindset shift, he launched his 4th business attempt. This time, when challenges arose, and they did, his response was different. Instead of seeing them as signs to quit, he saw them as opportunities to grow. Instead of looking for escape routes, he looked for solutions. The business succeeded not because the external circumstances were different, but because he was different. Your mental operating system determines everything: how you interpret events, how you respond to challenges, how you handle setbacks, how you pursue opportunities. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. And right now, you're either running software that empowers you or limits you. The choice is yours. You can continue operating on outdated programming, letting old beliefs and patterns determine your future. Or you can begin the rewiring process, installing new beliefs, creating new patterns, establishing new defaults. As we move forward into understanding the science of extreme productivity, remember this: your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. But like any tool, its effectiveness depends on how well you maintain it, how skillfully you use it, and most importantly, how willing you are to upgrade it when necessary. Are you ready to discover how to channel this newly rewired mindset into unprecedented levels of productivity? Because that's exactly what we're about to explore: the scientific principles behind peak performance and how to apply them in your daily life. Your mind is now primed for transformation, but here's where theory meets reality, where mindset converts into measurable results. What if I told you that your brain has been secretly working against your productivity all this time? That the very organ you rely on for success has been programmed to resist the changes you're trying to make? Think about the last time you tried to establish a new habit. Maybe it was waking up earlier, hitting the gym, or focusing on deep work. Remember that resistance you felt? That wasn't just laziness. It was your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do:
conserve energy, and maintain homeostasis. Understanding this resistance is the first step toward mastering it. Your brain evolved during a time when conserving energy meant survival. Every calorie saved could mean the difference between life and death. But in today's world, this ancient programming is holding you back, keeping you trapped in patterns of mediocre productivity. Let me share something fascinating. Research shows that your brain uses about 20% of your body's total energy, despite making up only 2% of your body weight. This means your brain is constantly looking for ways to automate, to simplify, to reduce energy expenditure. It's why habits are so powerful, and why change is so hard. But here's where it gets interesting. Your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock, isn't just about sleep. It's a complex system that influences everything from your cognitive performance to your physical capabilities. Understanding and optimizing this rhythm is like finding the cheat codes to your own biology. Take Sarah, a surgeon I worked with, who was struggling with burnout. She was pulling 14-hour days, surviving on coffee and willpower. Her productivity was plummeting, her error rate was climbing, and she was headed for disaster. The problem wasn't her work ethic, it was her complete disregard for her body's natural rhythms. Your brain has peak performance windows throughout the day. These are periods when your focus, creativity, and analytical abilities are at their highest. But most people never discover these windows because they're too busy fighting against their natural rhythm, trying to force productivity through sheer willpower. Think about your own energy patterns. When do you feel most alert? When does your mind feel sharpest? When do you naturally start to fade? These aren't random fluctuations, they're your body's way of telling you when to push hard and when to recover. The science of extreme productivity isn't about pushing yourself to the limit 24/7. It's about understanding and leveraging these natural cycles. It's about working with your biology, not against it. This is where the concept of micro-improvements becomes crucial. Most people try to make massive changes all at once. They attempt to go from zero to hero overnight. But your brain doesn't work that way. It responds better to small, consistent improvements, what I call the 1% rule. Improve by just 1% each day, and over a year you'll be 37 times better. This isn't just motivational math, it's the compound effect in action. Here's what happens when you make a 1% improvement. Your brain registers it as a success, releasing dopamine. This reinforces the behavior, making it more likely you'll repeat it. Each small win builds momentum, creating a positive feedback loop that drives further improvement. But let's talk about something even more powerful. Your brain's ability to rewire itself through neuroplasticity. Every time you perform a task, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that task. This is why repetition is so powerful, and why consistency beats intensity every time. Consider this: when you're learning something new, your brain is literally creating new connections between neurons. The more you practice, the stronger these connections become. This is why building systems is more important than relying on motivation or willpower. A system is a set of procedures that make failure nearly impossible. Think about it. You don't rely on motivation to brush your teeth or take a shower. These are systems you've built, habits that run on autopilot. Now imagine applying that same principle to your productivity. Let's break down what a productivity system looks like. First, you eliminate decisions. Decision fatigue is real. Every choice you make throughout the day depletes your mental energy. This is why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same style of clothes mental energy. This is why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same style of clothes every day. It's not about fashion. It's about conserving mental energy for important decisions. Next, you create environmental triggers. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment for cues about how we behave. Want to write more? Set up a dedicated writing space. Want to work the ball? Set up a dedicated writing space. Want to work out consistently? Lay out your gym clothes the night before. These aren't just life hacks, they're ways of programming your environment. These aren't just life hacks, they're ways of programming program's natural tendencies. But here's where most productivity advice falls short. They don't talk about any advice falls short. Your energy, not your time, is your most precious resource. You can't create more time, but you can optimize. You can optimize your energy. This is where the science gets really interesting. Your brain operates in cycles of roughly 90 minutes, known as protein rhythms. During these cycles, you move from high focus to feed. Fighting these rhythms is like against the current. You might make progress, but you're wasting enormous amounts of things. So use strength, structures and reflex. Work intensely for 90 minutes, then take a true break. Not a check your email break, not a chill break. Not a check your email break, not a scroll through social media, but a genuine, disconnected recovery genuine. This isn't being lazy, to elitist sticking recovery things. This isn't being lazy, it is being strategic.
Think about a sprinter. They don't run at full speed continuously. They sprint, recover, sprint again. This interval training principle applies to cognitive work as well. Your brain needs these recovery periods to consolidate information, replenish neurotransmitters, and prepare for the next round of focused work. But what about when you need to push beyond your normal limits? This is where understanding your brain's stress response becomes crucial. Short-term stress can actually enhance performance. It's why some people do their best work under deadline pressure. But chronic stress, that's kryptonite to productivity. The key is learning to distinguish between productive stress and destructive stress. Productive stress pushes you to grow, to adapt, to improve. Destructive stress breaks you down, impairs cognitive function, and undermines performance. The difference often lies in recovery. This is where sleep comes in, not just as a recovery tool, but as a productivity multiplier. During sleep, your brain doesn't just rest, it processes information, strengthens memories, and repairs neural pathways. Skipping sleep isn't just unhealthy, it's like withdrawing from your productivity bank account. Let's talk about focus in the age of distraction. Your brain isn't designed for multitasking, it's designed for single tasking with rapid task switching. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a cognitive price. This switching cost might seem small, but it adds up, destroying your productivity one interruption at a time. The solution isn't just about eliminating distractions, it's about creating periods of deep focused work. This is when you enter a state of flow, where time seems to disappear and productivity soars. But flow isn't something that just happens, it's something you engineer. Creating flow states requires 3 elements: clear goals, immediate feedback, and a balance between challenge and skill. When these elements align, you can accomplish more in a few hours than most people do in a day. This isn't just theory, it's backed by decades of research in cognitive psychology. But here's the part most people miss. Productivity isn't just about output, it's about sustainable output. It's about creating systems that allow you to perform at a high level day after day, week after week, year after year. This is where the concept of strategic recovery becomes essential. Think of your productivity like a wave, periods of intense focus, followed by periods of deliberate recovery. This isn't just about preventing burnout, it's about optimizing performance. The highest performers in any field understand this rhythm. They know when to push hard and when to pull back. As we prepare to move into the practical application of these principles, remember this: extreme productivity isn't about working longer hours or pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about working smarter, understanding your biology, and creating systems that support peak performance. Are you ready to turn this scientific understanding into practical day-to-day actions? Because that's exactly what we're about to explore, the specific strategies and techniques that will allow you to implement everything we've discussed. We're moving from the laboratory to the real world, from theory to practice, from understanding to action. Knowledge without action is like a car without fuel, impressively engineered but ultimately useless. You now understand the science behind peak performance, but understanding alone won't transform your life. It's time to bridge the gap between knowing and doing, between potential and performance, between who you are and who you can become. What's the first thing you do when you wake up tomorrow morning? Your answer to this question reveals more about your future success than any amount of knowledge or talent. Because success isn't built in the big moments, it's built in these small, seemingly insignificant decisions that fill your daily life. Let me share something powerful. Every single high achiever I've worked with has what I call a personal success framework. It's not just a morning routine or a to-do list. It's a complete operating system for excellence, and today you're going to build yours. Start with your non-negotiables, those daily actions that form the foundation of your success. For David, a CEO I worked with, these were meditation at 5 a.m., 45 minutes of exercise, and reviewing his goals before opening any digital device. Notice something? These aren't vague intentions like be more productive or work harder. They're specific, measurable actions that can be completed and checked off. Your non-negotiables need to align with your peak energy windows. Remember those biological rhythms we discussed? If you're a night owl, forcing yourself into a 5 a.m. routine isn't optimizing, it's self-sabotage. Your framework needs to work with your natural patterns, not against them. Here's where strategic planning becomes crucial. Most people confuse activity with productivity. They stay busy without making progress. Your framework needs to distinguish between three types of activities: growth activities that move you forward, maintenance activities that keep you stable, and waste activities that drain your resources. Take out your phone right now. Look at your screen time from yesterday. How much of it was growth? How much was maintenance? How much was waste? This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. You can't optimize what you don't measure, and you can't improve what you don't acknowledge. Now, let's talk about execution, the bridge between planning and results. The most beautiful strategy is worthless without effective execution. This is where most people fail. They have the knowledge, they have the plan, but they stumble in the implementation. Think about the last goal you failed to achieve. Was it really a lack of knowledge that held you back, or was it a breakdown in execution? 9 times out of 10, it's execution. This is why your framework needs to include what I call failure prevention protocols. A failure prevention protocol is a pre-planned response to common obstacles. When you're tired and don't want to work out, what's your protocol? When you're overwhelmed and want to procrastinate, what's your protocol? When you're feeling demotivated and want to quit, what's your protocol? These aren't decisions you make in the moment. They're decisions you make in advance. Let me give you a concrete example. Sarah, an entrepreneur I mentored, had a problem with procrastination on important but uncomfortable tasks. Her protocol became the 5-4-3-2-1 rule. As soon as she noticed herself procrastinating, she would count down from 5, and at 1 she had to physically start the task. No exceptions, no negotiations. Simple, yes. Effective, absolutely. But here's where it gets interesting: momentum. Once you start implementing your framework, you'll notice something fascinating. Success breeds success. Small wins create momentum, and momentum is the most powerful force in personal development. Think about pushing a car. The hardest part is getting it moving from a standstill. But once it's moving, maintaining that movement becomes much easier. Your success works the same way. The hardest part is starting, but once you build momentum, success becomes your natural state. This is why your framework needs to include what I call momentum multipliers, actions that create disproportionate results. For some, it's making sales calls first thing in the morning. For others, it's completing their most challenging task before noon. The specific action isn't as important as its ability to create positive chain reactions throughout your day. But let's address the elephant in the room, setbacks. They're not just possible, they're inevitable. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail isn't in avoiding setbacks, it's in how they respond to them. Your framework needs to include recovery protocols. When you face a setback, what's your immediate response? Do you spiral into self-doubt? Do you let one bad day become a bad week? Your recovery protocol should be as automatic as your success protocol. Mine is simple. Acknowledge the setback, identify the lesson, adjust the approach, and get back to work, all within 24 hours. Remember this: setbacks are not failures, they're feedback. Every failure is simply data, information about what doesn't work, which brings you one step closer to what does work. The most successful people I know have failed more times than most people have tried. Let's talk about your morning routine, not just what you do, but why you do it. Your morning routine isn't just about starting your day, it's about setting your standards. When you win the morning, you position yourself to win the day, but your routine needs to be sustainable. I've seen too many people try to implement these elaborate 2-hour morning routines they found online, only to burn out within a week. Your routine needs to be challenging enough to create growth, but sustainable enough to maintain consistently. Start small, build gradually. Here's a framework I've seen work time and time again. Mind, body, goals. 20 minutes of mindfulness or meditation to center yourself. 20 minutes of physical movement to energize your body. 20 minutes of goal review and planning to focus your day. 1 hour total, but it can transform your life if done consistently. But what about the rest of your day? This is where time blocking becomes crucial. Most people let their day happen to them. They react to emails, respond to urgent requests, and end up wondering where their time went. Your framework needs to include proactive time management. Think of your time like real estate. Premium locations command premium prices. What are the premium hours in your day? Those hours when your energy is highest, your focus is sharpest, and your potential is greatest. These hours need to be protected and invested in high-return activities. This brings us to what I call the power hour concept. Identify the single hour in your day when you're at your best. Guard this hour like it's worth $1,000, because it is. Use it for your most important work, your biggest opportunities, your highest leverage activities. This one principle alone can double your productivity. But success isn't just about managing time. It's about managing energy. Your framework needs to include what I call energy anchors, or practices that restore your energy when it's depleted. These aren't breaks to scroll through social media. They're strategic recovery periods that leave you stronger. For some, it's a midday workout. For others, it's 15 minutes of meditation. For others, it's 15 minutes of meditation. For others, still, it's a power nap or a walk in nature. The specific anchor isn't as important as its ability to restore your energy and refocus your mind. As we get ready to explore the final dimension of extraordinary achievement, your legacy. Remember this: your framework isn't just about getting more done, it's about becoming more. It's about creating a life where excellence isn't an event, but a habit, where success isn't a destination, but a way of being. The question isn't whether these strategies work, they do. The question is, will you work them? Will you take these principles and turn them into practices? Will you take these concepts and turn them into habits. Because that's where the real transformation happens. Everything we've discussed, from mindset to productivity to action, has been building to this moment. You now have the blueprint for extraordinary achievement. But a blueprint without action is just a dream on paper. It's time to build. Are you ready to explore how all of this, the mindset, the science, the strategies, comes together to create something bigger than personal success? Because that's where we're heading next. We're about to discuss how your journey of transformation isn't just about you, it's about the legacy you'll leave behind. What will they say about you when you're gone? When all the hustle fades, when all the achievements are documented, when all the accolades are gathered, what impact will you have left on the world? This isn't just about success anymore. This is about significance. Every great achievement you've accomplished, every habit you've mastered, every obstacle you've overcome, they're all just preparation for something bigger. Because success without significance is like a book that nobody reads, full of potential, but ultimately meaningless. Think about the giants whose shoulders we stand on. Edison didn't just invent the light bulb, he illuminated the world. Ford didn't just build cars, he revolutionized industry. Jobs didn't just create products, he changed how humans interact with technology. They understood something crucial. True success isn't measured in years, but in generations. Your journey isn't just about you anymore. The mindset you've developed, the productivity systems you've mastered, the actions you've refined, these aren't just tools for personal success. They're the foundation of your legacy, the platform from which you'll impact countless lives. Let me tell you about Michael, a software engineer I worked with. He was successful by any conventional measure: six-figure salary, prestigious company, comfortable life. But something was missing. He felt hollow, unfulfilled. Why? Because he was playing too small. His impact was limited to his immediate circle, his vision constrained by his personal goals. Everything changed when he started thinking beyond himself. He began mentoring young programmers from underprivileged backgrounds. He created free coding tutorials that reached thousands. He developed an open-source project that other developers built upon. Suddenly, his work had meaning beyond his paycheck. His success was creating ripples that would continue long after he was gone. This is what legacy thinking does. It transforms your perspective from immediate gratification to eternal impact. When you start thinking in terms of legacy, your decisions change, your priorities shift, your definition of success expands. Ask yourself, what problems am I uniquely positioned to solve? What knowledge do I have that could transform others' lives? What strengths do I possess that could lift others up? These aren't just rhetorical questions. They're the keys to your significance. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think legacy is about the end of their journey. It's not. Legacy is built daily, in the small decisions, in the tiny interactions, in the seemingly insignificant choices. Every time you choose integrity over convenience, long-term impact over short-term gain, significance over success, you're building your legacy. Think about the ripple effect of your actions. When you maintain high standards in your work, you're not just doing quality work, you're setting a standard for others to follow. When you mentor someone, you're not just helping one person, you're influencing everyone they'll ever impact. When you create something of value, you're not just solving a current problem, you're creating a resource for future generations. This is the responsibility of being extraordinary. Once you've achieved success, once you've mastered yourself, once you've built systems for excellence, you have an obligation to lift others up, not because you owe it to them, but because that's how human progress happens. That's how civilization advances. But legacy building isn't about ego. It's not about having your name on buildings or your picture in history books. It's about creating value that outlasts you. It's about solving problems that will benefit people you'll never meet. It's about planting trees whose shade you'll never sit under. Consider this: every major breakthrough, every significant innovation, every lasting change started with one person who decided to think beyond themselves. They chose to tackle problems bigger than their personal concerns. They chose to create solutions that would benefit not just their generation, but generations to come. Your field, whatever it is, needs this kind of thinking. It needs people who aren't just focused on climbing the ladder, but on building better ladders. It needs innovators who aren't just solving today's problems, but anticipating and addressing tomorrow's challenges. It needs leaders who aren't just managing teams, but developing future leaders. This is where your personal success framework evolves into a legacy framework. Instead of asking, "How can I succeed?" start asking, "How can my success benefit others?" Instead of "How can I grow?" ask, "How can my growth inspire others to grow?" Instead of "How can I achieve more?" ask, "How can my achievements create opportunities for others?" But let's be practical about this. Legacy building isn't about grand gestures or massive undertakings. It starts small, with consistent actions aligned with a larger purpose. Start with your immediate sphere of influence. How can you add more value? How can you serve more effectively? How can you lead more inspiringly? Document your journey. Share your lessons. Be transparent about your struggles and victories. Someone somewhere is facing the same challenges you've overcome. Your experience could be the map they need to find their way. Your story could be the inspiration they need to keep going. Remember this: every expert was once a beginner. Every teacher was once a student. Every leader was once a follower. Your current challenges are preparing you to help others overcome similar obstacles. Your current lessons are equipping you to teach others similar principles. This is where resilience takes on new meaning. You're no longer just bouncing back for yourself. You're showing others it's possible. Your persistence isn't just about your success anymore. It's about inspiring others to persist. Your courage isn't just about facing your fears. It's about showing others they can face theirs. Think about the mentors who've impacted your life, the authors whose books changed your thinking, the leaders whose examples inspired you. They chose to share their knowledge, to document their insights, to teach their lessons. Now it's your turn. What wisdom will you pass on? What insights will you share? What examples will you set? But here's the challenging part. Legacy thinking requires you to work on things that might not bear fruit in your lifetime. It requires you to solve problems that might not have immediate solutions. It requires you to start projects that you might not see completed. This is where true leadership emerges. Your success is no longer just about reaching the top. It's about creating better ways for others to climb. It's about building systems that make excellence accessible to more people. It's about developing frameworks that make success reproducible for future generations. This is the ultimate test of your growth. Can you shift from success to significance? Can you move from achievement to impact? Can you transform from a high performer to a legacy builder? Because that's what the world needs. Not just successful people, but significant people. Not just achievers, but impact creators. Not just leaders, but legacy builders. As we conclude this journey, remember this: you didn't come this far to only come this far. All the mindset work, all the productivity hacks, all the action steps, they're all preparation for something bigger. They're all training for your real mission, making a difference that outlasts you. The world doesn't need more successful people who die with their potential untapped, their wisdom unshared, their impact limited to their lifetime.
The world needs people who understand that true success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about what you set in motion. It's about the lives you touch, the changes you initiate, the progress you enable. Your journey continues beyond these words, but now you have the tools, the mindset, and the framework to not just succeed, but to leave a legacy. The question isn't whether you can do it. You can. The question is, will you? Will you take everything you've learned and use it to make a lasting difference? Will you transform your success into significance? Will you build something bigger than yourself? Because in the end, nobody cares about your excuses, your fears, your doubts. The world cares about what you create, what you contribute, what you leave behind. So get up, work harder, and build something that matters. Build something that lasts. Build something that makes the world better for your having been here. Your legacy awaits. What will it be?